Hello. Today I just want to talk about um, acceptance. Accepting people, places, and things for what they are, and not being able to change uh, the people, places, and things if you're in those situations or with certain people. um, Knowing that everything is a choice and being spiritually, emotionally, and physically fit to be able to remove yourself from certain people, places, and things. Um, Sometimes we find ourselves where we can't remove um, ourselves physically from the situation that we're in, but if we know that um, God doesn't give us any more than we can handle. He actually tries to give us more than we think we can handle because He wants to challenge us. He doesn't give us uh, easy, that's for sure. Um, he will help you through circumstances if you trust and believe for things unseen and have faith. Um, he will remove us from certain situations um, if it's part of his plan. But it may not be part of his plan, and he may want you to tough it out. See if you are stable enough and follow and practice the principles in all of your affairs. Um, Sometimes it seems a little confusing and you don't know which way to go, but in this situation or circumstance, you probably need to just trust your instinct. If your instinct is making you feel uncomfortable, then it's time to pull the tools out of your toolbox and know that any confusion that may arise, that there is a solution to your problem. You just got to figure out what tools you're going to use in that particular situation. Um, we serve a God that is a peaceful God, and He doesn't want there to be discord or anger. He wants peace and joy. So even though it seems confusing, you probably need to ask yourself, are you causing the confusion? What is it that needs to change in you? Not the other people, not the other places, and not the other things, but what needs to change in you to make the situation better. We know that what the enemy has planned for us is total opposite of what God has planned for us. So you probably should use, just a suggestion, what the enemy has planned for you for better. Because this is kind of a challenge. And if you're spiritually fit, then challenge shall be accepted. If you're working a program of recovery and you're not sure what tool to use, you should probably find somebody who is like minded, such as your sponsor or someone that you look up to in your program, to reach out and pick up that phone, which is somewhat heavy, and ask for some advice. What the enemy uses to hurt you, though, know that God is using it to grow you, prosper you, because He has plans for you. I had a discussion with someone last night who felt like everything was falling apart in her life. And I told her sometimes when things are falling apart from our view, God's really putting them right where He wants them to be. I know that um, all good and perfect things come from above. I know that I can do anything if I trust and believe and know that God can do all things through me because He gives me strength. But if I try to take back control, then for me, my emotions will get in the way. And I'm going to try to do what I want to do. And I'm going to take advice from all the wrong people. And I'm going to go um, by the way of reaction instead of response. So, um, if you're working the steps of a recovery program, number one, we are powerless over people, places, and things. And your life could become unmanageable if you try to give your power to the situation or try to have power over those things. So, all power and honor and glory go to God above, who loves you and feels like you are enough. He knows you're enough. He loves you. And to me, I feel like it's all a test of faith. And even though you feel like you might be in the mucky, sticky mire of the hole, I recently read that holes actually serve a purpose. So, as we're digging those awesome holes that we tend to dig, God has a plan for those holes. He might plant a tree in those holes, He might build a swimming pool in those holes. He might give you above and beyond what is even in your wildest dreams in those holes. So don't feel like because you keep digging holes that those holes don't serve a purpose. Because I know for me today, my darkness is helping me to see the light, and my darkness is helping to shed light in the lives of others. So fear not. He is the Lord, and He will help you even in the middle of the storm. He is in control. Yeah. So, again, I was in conversation with someone yesterday, and she was just overwhelmed by her current place and current people in the place. And I told her that things will all fall into place and to not fret and not fear. If she would just keep putting one foot in front of the other, um, then things would be okay. To stay in her own lane and to have guardrails and boundaries, but don't build fences. But we have to accept. Acceptance is the key to all of our problems today. It's hard to accept how certain people act. It is hard to accept what comes out of their mouth. It is hard to think that it's okay to accept what they're doing, how they're acting, how they're living their lives, because it does affect others. But then we have to lower our expectations and realize that they may be doing the best that they know how to do. And they haven't been graciously given the opportunity or made the choice to accept the gifts that are freely given by a free program that may or may not be offered to them. We can steer them in the right direction, or we can keep living our lives for others to see, and then they may want what you have, but this may not happen overnight. So don't worry about it. It's not about saving the world, it's about living the truth and living in the light of the word. And always remember that light is always more powerful than darkness. So I think specifically of my father. I watched a powerful movie this weekend called The Case for Christ. And the gentleman in the movie did not have a good relationship with his father, and his father passed away. And then he realized that his father was probably his biggest fan, and because he never let his father into his life because of past resentments and hurts and anger, he pushed his father away and distanced his father from his life because his father didn't give him what he thought he needed. And the whole time his dad was sidelines cheering him on and he didn't know. So then now regret and pain and remorse set in when he realized that his father was indeed his biggest fan. So he didn't know that his father did the best that he could do for him. Um, so this is something that I need to work on in my relationship with my father. It made me want to call him and reach out to him. And despite what he may say or what he may think or how he may act, I know that this may be his way of expressing his love and support for me, even though it may not sound like what I want it to sound like. It may not be as it is that I expect, but I have to accept. I just have to accept because I don't want to be the person like the guy in the movie that, shows up for my dad's funeral um, with regret that I didn't reach out. So I know that there's other people in my life I probably need to do this too. There are others that I just need to keep at a safe distance, pray for them, love them right where they are, because they may not be good for me and they may hinder my um, new path and my new way of life. I am grateful for the people who are now in my life and they know who they are. Some of them are organizations that I am a part of. Some of them are just people that God brought into my path in my new way of life. And so I have to accept their advice and their suggestions if I want to grow. Sometimes it's quickly, sometimes slowly. Um, but if I apply principles, then I will see the blessings and the promises come true. Sometimes, again, it's a God smack, and I go, oh, I finally used a tool right. Sometimes I use a tool wrong, and it takes me down the wrong path, or I get, again, caught up in my emotions. And instead of looking at the bright side of things, I go, well, that tool didn't work. And then I'd like throw it out the window. But I can't do that because I know that tool was probably just used by me in the wrong situation. So I'm learning like what tools are supposed to be used for which situation. I think this is probably going to be an ongoing lesson for me. I need to stay teachable because I'm not always right today. I could be so far left of center, but I don't want this to discourage me. I know right now that I'm not really sure um, what God's plans are for me tomorrow, let alone the rest of the day, but I can plan things on my calendar or my schedule, but I need to be prepared for a wrench being thrown into the plans that I have made because ultimately my creator, God in heaven, has all of my days planned out for me because he knew me before I was even formed in my mother's womb, and then he breathed life into me. So if I try to take all of that away, then I'm trying to say that I am more powerful than my creator, and I know I'm not. I am powerless. Back to step one. I am powerless over even what I think is best for me because ultimately my heavenly father and creator has created me to do great things. And sometimes I may mess up, more likely than not, but mistakes, I know this as being a teacher, but mistakes actually help us grow and failures help us thrive. So, for people who criticize people who are constantly making mistakes, or those who are failing at business or relationships and stuff, and criticizing or condemning them, aren't realizing that we learn from our failures and our mistakes, and it actually makes us get stronger because as we're getting up from the failure or the mistake, we're actually mustering up enough strength and courage to go back at it again and become bold and brave and even vulnerable. But sometimes it takes someone or a person to help us get back up and help us see um, maybe a better way. And I know today my way is not the better way. The Lord's way is the best way. So on that note, I'm just trying to offer some helpful advice and suggestions as I walk along this road on this Monday to serve a purpose, and sometimes painful. We know that pain serves a purpose, and if we're passionate about it, like Christ was on the cross, then we know that we will be delivered through whatever circumstance or person or place that we find ourselves in. So go and be purposeful and have acceptance. Have a great day.